Hi there. So we are about to hear the final speakers of the conference. And before we get to that session, I just want to thank John Fotherby for herding cats all day long and introducing sessions. So. Also, once we've completed this session and once the Q&A is done, we'll be thanking you and wishing you well in your travels. So just wanted to let you know we will end promptly at 5. But it's been a real pleasure having you here for the last couple of days. And for those of you that also attended the Capital Projects Leadership Forum, 3 days, the last two things I'm going to say are, one, we are planning on coming back to Europe next year, probably in the second quarter. And the one thing we're not certain of is the location. Is it going to be Amsterdam? Is it going to be Barcelona? Is it going to be back to London? But it will be a major European center. And we will be sending you information on the dates and location once we have them. So I want to let you know that's coming. And the other thing I wanted to say was we had a Capital Projects Forum this year, very good event. We're planning on repeating it next year. If any of you are interested in attending that, that's a free event. It's invitation only. All you have to do is reach out to us and let us know that you're interested. Okay? So please follow up. And John, I'll let you introduce our last session.
Thanks, Lloyd. Okay. So this session is using AWP to reduce carbon footprint. The sort of subset is using shorter schedules, which equates to less waste. So in this session, Stuart, Block, and Mick will be doing the work. But before we get there, I've got a question to kick this session off for you. So, what is the greatest expense on a project that is not installed or produced? Any thoughts? People and? Sounds slightly biased. What else? People, yes, but what else? Think about it. Okay. What is it that goes with the people? But, no, not installed. Hopefully, unless you're going for scrap, you're going to be installing the materials. Time. Thank you. Yeah, people and time. What's the average percentage of the cost of the management for a contractor on a typical project? Home office and project related and all the facilities. What are we allowing for that? Yeah, something in that order. You're right. Can we save on that if we shorten schedules, is the short answer. So, good, thank you. Oh, Stuart, you're required.
Okay, afternoon all. Some of you probably do know me. I'm Stuart Block. I'm the AWP manager from Fleur. I started my career on the tools, as a lot of us did. I'm not academic, I'm not a speaker, I'm a worker. I use my hands all the time. But what I've learned in the 30 odd years I've been working in projects, from on the tools, project controls, project management, now construction management, is people and collaboration works. You've got to use it. You can't not use it. You can't isolate yourselves. So moving on. So 4 aspects I'm going to talk about this afternoon to do with AWP to reduce waste is structure, planning, organisation and delivery. So keep it really simple. So firstly, structure of the project's key. If you get that wrong at the start, nothing really works. You're fighting it all the way through. So we start off project controls, work breakdown structures, CWAs, CWPs, and eventually on the project you'll get down to IWPs. But it's the cross between geographic and the actual work in home offices. So at Fleur, one thing we do is we align EWPs, PWPs and CWPs all as one. We don't want any confusion. Every boundary of a CWP is just simple. We just call it CWP. So once we've established our hierarchy, we start the planning cycle. So we haven't developed the full hierarchy, we just start the journey. So we're thinking with the end in mind. So as we talked about, we start with the path of construction to work backwards. But path of construction is only the first part. You then got to think of the path of the project. Where does the project have to deliver? Where does it go? So as you work backwards, you start setting your milestones. It's a first pass, backward pass. Then you start working forwards to how you actually are going to deliver it. And it's iterations as you go through stages of the projects. It changes. The project will change slightly. But you just need to be on track of it. The path of the project is a guide that everybody follows. If nobody buys into it, the project fails. So you must make sure that the whole project buys into it. Planners are great. Well, I can say that because I was a planner for 20 odd years. But it's collaboration with the rest of the teams. If you don't collaborate with the teams, you're going to fail your schedules. So you're going to fail your projects. So you got your path of the project in. Then you start going around your organisation. Key, people. So firstly, we get the people on the project. They all have to work together. But we need to follow the processes, the company processes, or we change them. But we also need technology as a lever to enable the projects to work. Technology enables processes, processes are followed by people, and people leverage technology. If all those work, then your project's fairly successful. But they all hinge around data. So in the start, you set up your project structures. It's the start of your data journey. Your planning will involve data. Your models involve data. So you've got to be data-centric as you move forward. Suppliers, you bring them on board, and you have them data-centric as well. And then lastly, delivery. Whatever project you're on, you've got to deliver something. Whether it's documents, purchase orders, materials, equipment, or construction on site. And somebody told me the best practitioner of AWP is cooks. Not project managers, cooks. Because they have to plan delivery of the meal, so they have to work backwards. They have to plan what they need to buy, follow the recipes. Same principle as AWP. So what we're going to do now is we've got an exercise on the table in front of you in a white envelope. So we've got 2 different projects. One that's followed AWP, that's got the path of the project in. One that hasn't, the traditional types of projects. So Steve's going to stick a timer up on the screen. So the project duration is 6 minutes. The time is going to be up to 7, and we'll see how much waste there really is if you don't follow the path of the project correctly. No, doesn't matter. So the projects are obviously jigsaws. Those jigsaws are the AWP version is organised in a bag for each row. And the ones that haven't are organised in 2 bags, outsides and insides. So I'd recommend you work with the outsides first. But So, but the AWP one, start with bag one. Start with bag one, then move to bag 2, 3, 4, as you would on a project. I just told you the instructions, but you didn't listen. So, but that's traditional projects. As traditional contractors, you want all the pieces before you start. Yes, we can, yeah. Yeah. So you've got modularisation then. You've got modularisation. But if you open more than one bag, you're confused. Come on, Daniel. Because you open 2 bags at once. Are you sure? See, unfounded warranty claims. They're designed for 5-year-olds. Yeah. It's got people busy, isn't it? It's hot up here. That's why Lloyd had sunglasses on. Yeah. Don't you enjoy being these exercises? That's it, David. Feed it in the right order. Yeah. Or material controller, or yeah. Fun? Oh, 4:25. Okay. Yes. Yeah, we've been and checked, validated. Yeah, we'll expect to know 3 to finish first. They're used to puzzles. Me. That took weeks. It was hard to find 20 jigsaws. Yeah, I did, yeah. Well, yeah, but Amazon only had 3 boxes. Done, 2. So 5.5 minutes. So. Yeah, yeah. It's all right, we're going to stop at 7. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Well, project duration was 6 minutes. Project duration was said was 6 minutes. Yeah. So, pretty good. You only had 2 workers. 2. Yeah, piece. Well, you look at the other tables around. So, okay, so we've had 3 tables finished. So we'll stop at 7. Okay. Okay, so we're up to 7 minutes now. So if we stop there, we've had 3 projects finished. So O3 at 4 minutes 21, Worley at 5 minutes 30, and Shell was at 6 minutes. Oh, okay. So, but what you can demonstrate from this is, it doesn't matter how many people you got on your project, if it's not planned efficiently, it's going to take longer. So your waste is time and people. It's not lack of material, Luigi. Yeah. Okay, Luigi, let's look at that one. You've got 3 claims in so far, and it's wasted time and effort and cost. So, was it? But I think people are going to continue on, but if we can just stop for a second. They're going to keep going. Yeah. Okay, we're going to hand over to Mick in a minute, and then you can continue after. Yeah. But yeah, it just demonstrates a simple exercise with a jigsaw for a 5-year-old. Easy and hard ways of doing it. So projects can be efficient, projects can be inefficient. So, but more planning up front, more effective planning, collaboration, you get the results you want. So, Mick, are you ready? Hand over to Mick now. Yeah. I'll sit there.
Okay. Is my microphone? Yes. Thank you. So, oh my God. Hopefully you could listen to me. Okay, let me introduce myself. Okay, I'm from JGC Corporation, working for, Digital Project Delivery Department. It used to be EPC DX Department. I'm a chief advisor. And probably you know IOGP, who is producing CFOS standard. Right? I'm editor of scope and procedure documents. And the name DAMA is an abbreviation of Data Management Association. It's a very huge community that we have more than 50 chapters in the world. So I'm a president of DAMA Japan chapter. And as you can see, DMBOK, DAMA DMBOK, is a data management body of knowledge. So I'm a chief translator, not translator. I translated this DMBOK with a few other guys, and 700 pages. It's very thick. So hopefully you could just have a look at it, and just scan through the table of contents, you will know what kind of thing we have to do for data management. And then finally, I'm a certified data management professional. Is it this one? Okay, then I have to do some obligation for my company. Okay, JGC has a corporate mission, enhancing planetary health. I just looked at it, I couldn't understand what it means, but gradually, maybe by participating in this conference, start to understand what it is. So, using AWP principles to reduce not only our carbon footprint, but all waste in projects. So that's what we are targeting at. Okay, so briefly go through my agenda. Okay, I'm going to give you a slightly different perspective from previous presentations. So I'm going to introduce you Toyota Production System. The abbreviation is TPS. TPS, a lean production system. And probably you know just in time. In Japanese, we call it like 3 elements, muri, mura, muda. So I'm going to explain shortly. And then engineering EPC project. That means why these 2 agendas is because the first one, TPS, is actually advanced production system. The second one is actually advanced project management. So that means so-called AWP, right? Then, as Stuart explained, I'm going to touch on structure, planning, organization, and delivery. And then I focus on the structure, okay, together with the EPC coding foundation. Then we have 2 comparisons. One comparison is between data-centric versus document-centric project concept. And the next comparison is between science-centric and human-centric processes. Okay, now then I finish this section by introducing overview of our JGC data-centric EPC execution. Then conclusion. Okay, now let's get started. All right, Toyota Production System was invented by these 2 guys. One is Toyoda Kiichiro. Okay, you notice that not Toyota, but Toyota. It's slightly different. And then that was, he was the second CEO. And then together with Ono Taiichi, so Toyoda, Mr. Toyoda instructed Mr. Ono to come up with a new production system, who was the senior vice president. Okay. Now, everybody knows the Industrial Revolution. It's around 1800, year 1800. Before that, we all had manual production by craftsmen. But after that, slowly move on to mass production, automation, assembly lines. And then this Mr. Toyoda visited the UK to learn what's going on. I mean, some revolutionary production system. Then he learned what it is and then brought it back to Japan. And then probably what he thought is that we cannot just directly adopt this system in Japanese production line. So he modified and improved it. He came up with Toyota Production System. Okay. So, I mean, you can look at all this description in this Toyota website. Right, so according to this website, TPS, a production system based on the philosophy of achieving the complete elimination of all waste in pursuit of the most efficient method. That's very brave, really. Now you can see this, the time is around mid-1900. There's no IT, you know. Just paper, pencil. We call it kanban. It's actually like a card. So they use all this kind of analog tools to produce this system. Then the main concept, two elements. One is jidoka, which is automation with artisan expertise. This is slightly different from just automation. The key word is artisan. Plus, muri, mura, muda, which means just in time. So, according to the website, waste can manifest as excess inventory, which we talked about, right? Extraneous processing steps, and defective products. Among other instances, all these waste elements intertwine together with each other to create more waste, eventually impacting the management of the corporation itself. So that's the concept they were thinking about. They are trying to solve this problem by introducing these two elements. Okay, so I'm going to focus on this just in time. All right, so the principle is to produce just what is required, the exact values expected by customers, and to produce just when it is required, not too early, not too late. To produce just the amount required, not less, no less, no more. Okay, so these three principles. So that means lean, lean, and lean. So how to eliminate all the unnecessary wastes? So they needed some architecture. So that's, the architecture is very simple to eliminate the three evils, which are muri, mura, muda. Okay, so this is Japanese kanji brush writing, right? So I explain, muda is very, very simple, waste. Okay, next, mura is inconsistency. And then finally, muri. It's difficult to explain, but this means everything against the rule of nature. So rule of nature, that means you may push people too hard, push machine too hard, something is going to break. So everything should go through the path of nature. So that's what it means. Okay, now I just introduced you the concept of TPS, and then that is a manufacturing production system, which they advance it, right? And then the next one, we are going to engineer the EPC project. Right. Okay, so as Stuart introduced, it starts with the structure. I mean, in our company, we have basic four coding structures. System WBS, area WBS, which is CWA, and functional WBS, it's a discipline and service code, and then finally material class. Right, now planning. We have procedures, work packaging, BIM, 3D to 8D. This is just an example. Right, organization, roles and responsibility, communication, and interfaces. And then finally, delivery. The project execution, monitoring, decision making. All right. Then this foundation of structure actually produces these two big elements. One is the master tag register. The other one is master asset register. So this, the bottom part, this one is called it's a data, models, and documents. So which forms of foundation of information. So this foundation will be fed into planning and to organization and to delivery. So four altogether, then we have successful project execution. Okay, so these four coding structure, at the center we have a WBS, okay, so which describes actually CWA is saying where. And then plan system breakdown structure is actually why we need this equipment. So it's actually why. is a function. And then the plant function. And then the bottom here, functional breakdown structure is actually service breakdown structure. Then it's actually touching on who, organization and people. Then finally, material class structure, which tells you what. Okay, now I'm going to explain briefly the differences, the comparison between data-centric and document-centric concept. Suppose we have two documents. The document 1 contains the data, overly simplified, but A, B, and C, that's a data element. And document 2 has A and C and D. So, as you may know, documents are usually produced from data. So, assembling data, put the context in, then we have documents. Right. Then, what's going to happen? Okay, here's the timeline. Say we have a data life cycle at the top. The bottom says document life cycle. Okay, the data A is produced here, keep on existing, and the A dash is actually revised. Then A dash, A dash, A dash. Then B is actually never changed. This is just an example. The C is produced here after AB, and then it's revised at there, the revision 1. And D never changes. Okay, then what's going to happen to the documents which contain all these data? So document 1, okay, draft issue over here. All right, then if once A is revised, this document it becomes obsolete. I mean, that's actually understood. Then document 2 is released together with the A dash, C, and D there, draft issue. Right, now C is revised. Then document 2 is obsolete. So that means what happened is that you can see, all right, sorry, I forgot one more. So revision issue for document 1 is over there, the A dash, B, and C dash. Right, so these blue arrows show the consistent data, document. But as you can see, the red dotted lines, it says the duration of inconsistency. Okay, suppose we have, say, 100,000 documents. Somebody was saying today, 1.5 million documents or pages, right? So you could imagine what's really happening if we stick to document-centric execution. We are dealing with a lot of documents which we don't even know which document has inconsistency. So that is a problem. If we know it, then we can revise it, we can update it, but the problem is we don't know which document contains which data. Okay, so summarize, documents are often inconsistent. Documents are human readable, that's important. I'm not saying documents are evil. I'm not saying that, just the difference between document and data. Because documents can be read by people. Data can be read by machines, right? And then data can be transferred faster through API, right? Then data can create documents, and data can be extracted whenever or wherever. So everybody is talking about data-centric EPC execution. Yes, but you know, we are dealing with a lot of documents. Maybe we never stop using documents. So it's important for us to understand the differences and the commonality. So the nature of data, nature of document. Okay, then we have information resources and assets. We have a document-centric resources, and then we have human-centric process. So human will access documents and read it, understand, and take action. Right. So human can input into documents and it can read documents. But the problem is the people actually get opinions from other people. And then human actually sense, using 5 senses, go around the site, oh, here is a defect, here's a problem, here is not safe. Right? So it's actually human can get a lot of information, not only from documents. But this is what's happening. While data-centric resources, they can feed data to create documents, as I explained. And then once we have a proper set of data, then we can conduct science-centric process. Okay, human-centric process tend to be very subjective. And then science-centric processes to be very objective. And then document is often denormalized. It's all the time is denormalized. And data is has to be normalized. That means it's consistent. Okay. So science-centric processes, they will use data, and then they output data. But here's the important thing. You know, our company is not actually only doing data-centric and science-centric processes. We really put the importance on the human being, the people. People is the most important resources. So what we are targeting at is that once we establish data-centric resources together with science-centric processes, that one will help support people with the knowledge analysis so that the people can make better decisions. So that's what we are targeting at. Okay, so the overview of our JGC data-centric execution, we have a central EPC integrated data hub. In fact, we have actually 4 data hubs, connecting each other. But then it's absorbing data from phasing, like a feed, engineering, procurement, construction, and commissioning. Right? Then we communicate with suppliers or vendors through API. We communicate with our group companies and joint venture companies through API. And then finally, we communicate with the clients. So here is step 1. Here, step 1 means we actually consolidate, integrate the data in our company first. That's a priority 1. Then second is actually start communicating with the external companies. Then finally, hand over to our client. It's actually, hopefully it's a real time. But I'm not saying we have completed everything, but we already started probably up to 2, second level. And then still giving our client the data, not real time, maybe once a month. But then what I want to stress on right now is that at the heart of this data-centric EPC is all there, EPC Integrated Data Hub. It's actually based on proper enterprise data model. So we carry out lots of projects, more than 20,000 projects up to today. But then many people say every project is different. So what can we do? So what we have to do is to find out commonality for every project. That means that is a coding structure. Of course, CWA is different from project to project, right? And the system may be slightly different. But what we are talking about, say, like a service classification and material classification, we can make it common so that anytime the project starts, we can just apply this coding structure. That's what we are doing. As a conclusion, sorry, I'm taking too much time. Right, learning from TPS, actually construction industry is moving towards manufacturing industry business models. As you could actually hear many presentations. And AWP is to embed the idea of no waste, no wait, no rework, no inconsistency, and no defects into the capital project. AWP is not a campaign, not politics. It's actually science and technology, of course with the people. So based upon facts and data with quantitative analysis, decision making and implementation methods. So I just want to stress that. AWP, everybody is talking about AWP, but how to implement it? We need data, right? But the data should be properly structured. We have to have a proper flow of information. And we have to know the difference between data and documents. Right, now, building the solid structure data foundation is the first step towards the successful AWP implementation. So, no friction, no transactional friction, no communication friction, no resistance in projects interfaces. Smooth data flow from phase to phase and from company to company. So, save energy and reduce carbon footprint with superconductive EPC execution. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Mick and Stuart. Now, what about questions?
So on the puzzle deal, if y'all didn't decommission it, then you're not done, okay?
Or if you haven't finished it.
Yeah, or if you haven't finished it, that might be a problem. But to Mick, I think it's, while we're waiting on Slido to come up here, what about using your data and feeding into an owner's platform, whatever that might be? Have you had success in, you know, you're using RESTful APIs to get data for yourself, but have you delivered that data to owners for whatever consumption
Right.
in theirs?
Yes, we are doing that in Canada, I guess. So we are feeding data, within ourselves, and you know, it's not real time as I said, but monthly, we consolidate, and then the important things, first of all, whenever we have a kickoff meeting with the client, we have to talk about how we hand over the data, right? But then that's often like, okay, you give me Excel spreadsheet. Very often clients ask for Excel. Then maybe, okay, no, not Excel, but CSV file. Yeah, that's better. But even better, please call this API. Then that's fast. And we can immediately validate our data, but it's not yet happening, I guess. So I think we can all improve together. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, you might not have the whole scope. You know, you might have the engineering for, you know, a portion of the project, let's say.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how that works if somebody's trying to integrate yours and other people's. It can be, it's a task, right?
Yes. So that's why at least the metadata is common.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, cannot translate. Yeah.
Stuart, there's a question about, can you elaborate on collaboration through data management?
Yep, no problem. So a lot of times with our suppliers, our owners, we understand what their data availability is, what they need, what they can give. So for example, a steel supplier, we work with them on, we give them a standard, a basics, and then we work with them how to achieve that. And then we understand what else they can give us. So we constantly work with them, whether they don't do AWP, they do AWP, but we work and we coach with them to make them better and us better. So it's completely collaborative.
I think this is to possibly both of you, but do you foresee doing away with all drawings where projects operate on data only in the construction industry?
Yeah, I'll go first if you want. I think eventually we will, but I think at the moment it's clients will accept it and will governments accept it? So, and regulators. So I think eventually we will get there, but we're not there yet.
As far as the people are processing information, we need documents, drawings. But then when are we going to start processing those documents? You know, if we could implement all the robotics on site, probably. But that's going to be very far away, I guess.
This is a good question. Is there a specific project role for data coordination in your organisations or on your project teams?
Yes, we do.
Short answer to that.
Our
Stuart.
project information manager helps facilitate that, but it's the responsibility of everybody on the project to help with data management.
We have, we used to have a DX manager. Now it's AWP manager. But then we have another role for IM manager. So that's not really good. So we are trying to consolidate to one.
There's one for you here, Mick. How do you issue data compared to the documents? Do you handle data revisions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So especially we are very careful about managing the tag data together with the attributes. The revision of the attributes, you know, is very sensitive. So once, for example, like a design pressure is different, becomes different, or maybe loading weight becomes different. So we have a sort of data by data. I mean, like, okay, once a week we have just a cut line, and then we actually pick up all the updates and then deliver to engineers. If engineers fed with all the changes real time, they're going to get really panic. So that's what we are careful about.
Yeah. So there's another question here about IWPs. As you as an EPC contractor, about who's creating IWPs, you, the contractor, or the construction subcontractors? Have you?
Yep, I can answer
No,
that
that's
first,
that
yep.
thing it's addressed to both, I think.
Okay, I'll go there first. Yeah, because obviously within Europe, we have our own subcontractors we work with. We work with them to get the best out of them. But at the end of the day, we hire them because that's their job. They build the sites. Mm-hmm. So they're the best experts to build the IWPs, not engineers or management. Mm-hmm. So we work with them. But obviously with direct labour, then Fleur will work themselves with their own teams to build that. But it's workers' input is needed.
What about your side, Mick?
Does that assume your engineers have the competency in construction to do it? Because once you get it in construction, if you've already done the engineering, how do you, it's difficult.
Yeah, that's why we have construction back in engineering at a more higher level. And obviously AWP champions. Our AWP champions actually come up from the tools. That's kind of like a prerequisite, that they understand what they've got to do in the field to be able to guide. But
Right. What we are doing is actually, first of all, creating an easy user interface for anybody to handle, be able to handle. Right now, most of the time, we create work packages up to installation work package for our subcontractors. But gradually, we are shifting. You know, more and more, we deal with one subcontractor. We know them more. Then they will learn more. Then we can actually have a collaboration.
So there's a question about standards. Standards come up a lot. Is your data model and coding a standard or bespoke, or a translation tool?
Yes, in one word, it's standard. It's actually one standard for all the projects. Mm-hmm. But then what we are trying to do is that, for example, like a CFOS data standard, and we have our data standard. Mm-hmm. So we have a mapping between, especially attributes. Mm-hmm. You know, like a CFOS has 711, I guess, equipment classes, where we have less equipment classes. So we have to map together. Mm-hmm. But then it's used to be bespoke. That was not good. So we actually, you know, we are trying to change it. This change will happen this year.
Right. I think this is a question to both of you. Have you moved from measuring document completion progress to data maturity, especially when linked to payments?
That's a very good question, but then the answer is very clear. Still documents, right? So because we can measure the completion of data set, but then we haven't really defined the quality of the data. Because the documents will be reviewed by clients, they can actually judge whether it's really, approved or not to be approved. But data, not yet.
Yeah, well, from our point of view, we work on both. So we will take progress on models and at review stages, and if it's approved, we get the progress from that. But yeah, finally, documents would be.
So there's a good question here. How do you validate the data provided by the customer? If there's a lack of data, how do you manage your model?
From the customer.
Yeah, it's how do you validate the information provided, the data provided by a client?
Yeah, so it all goes back to the original spec. What did we ask for?
Yeah.
If we didn't ask for it, we'd have to supplement it ourselves. So that's pretty common, that one.
Yeah, we have a problem of validation of data, especially from suppliers and vendors. And then we have to come up with the standard rules how we audit our data. So we have to define which one or in what aspect we validate it. Yeah, and then there is a lack of data. This, your model means a 3D model or data model? 3D model.
I think it means your model. So, this is a bit of an odd question in a way, because I think it depends, but how many data points do you expect to, you might have to manage on a project? And the answer, Stuart, is not a lot.
We try not to manage too many, but obviously it's as long as a piece of string is.
Yeah.
The problem of people, actually human being, right? If you think about Excel spreadsheet, if we have 20,000 rows, it's already too many. And they think that, okay, open the one file, takes maybe 5 minutes, maybe with a macro or whatever. That's not really good exercise. And when we talk about database, it's completely different, concept. So actually, I don't really care millions or billions of data we handle. I mean, that should not be in the same way as people reading the data. It should be machine readable.
Yeah. So are models an in-between of documents and data, or is the model the source of data?
Oh, the models are sorry? If it's a 2D, 3D models, 2D model is basically document.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3D model is basically data.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's reflecting exactly what the reality would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it's both, because obviously specs are always going to be 2D.
Yeah.
Can't have a 3D spec.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So, but of course, eventually, it will go into 7D and transfer totally onto digital with the
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, Stuart, because there's a very serious question here about what is the prize for finishing the puzzle.
Recognition.
Achievement.
But we
You
knew
should be
O3 would finish first.
Yeah. We've got that.
I can only speak plain English. I'm sorry, just my English.
Would it increase efficiency over time if data controller sits along with the AWP champions and validates any inputs and outputs?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But data controllers, roles are important. And he has to understand the data model, relationships, validation. Then yes, If the data controller is going around the people and they're collecting Excel spreadsheet, not really.
Yeah.
So from my point of view is everybody should be an AWP champion. Every department, every person on the project, and they should also be their own data management.
Yeah, so this is a question for you, but also anybody in the room. Have you successfully utilized any kind of a platform, data platform, that actually scrubs the data for you without doing it manually? Do you hear that? Everybody hear that?
Data mining.
Completeness, errors, everything.
Keeping the data quality.
I mean,
Okay.
yes. So, I mean, obviously, when you start putting data in, it
Yep.
comes in fast and furious. But
Yep.
if you do it manually, it's a task. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's some programs out there. I mean, we worked with a few people. I'm just wondering, has anybody succeeded at it really well? Yeah, Fernando.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hi, this is Fernando with ConstructX, and I'm going to share some information from a product called Borneo. And what we have done successfully is be able to translate, on an Exxon and Sabic job here recently around modules. For instance, module fabricators were delivering hundreds of thousands of lines of Excel sheets, right? And in there was always inconsistencies. So we automated the process to look at all that data and scrub it, but also to inform the people out of all that there might be these certain data consistencies that they had to actually address. Goes a little bit to the Jacoda model. You can't automate everything. You have to let the human interface with it and say which one is right. Right? What is something that's missing? Get filled in. Something that is inconsistent. Which one's the right thing? So, yes, absolutely. There's one success story. A few more, but
Thanks. Luigi, you want to comment on it?
Yes, I would like to answer Jay. Yes, the point is data scrubber. We develop internally what we call a AWP system that gathers all the information from engineering and procurement proprietary system in a way that the data are gathered, filtered, and through the coding structure can flow from engineering, procurement into the AWP database. So we normalized the coding structure in a way that any kind of project may dump the right information into the AWP repository. So at the end of the day, an elbow is an elbow. At the end of the day, foundation plan is foundation plan. The point is, we coded, as Mick said correctly, we coded all the possible deliverables. And we had a huge, huge database, even converting the quantities into manageable level in a way that we can have the quantification of each construction work package and installation work package. So yes, the point is a proper coding structure. That is the basis of everything, which is the common language to make the system talking each other. That is the only way.
Right. So the data quality can have different dimensions, like accuracy, consistency, completeness, integrity, blah, 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 timeliness. So the accuracy part is difficult for machine to check because all engineers, maybe they calculate, they think it's right. It's no way the database can judge it unless it's just the order of magnitude is different. Maybe it's a misinput, that's okay. But consistency or integrity, timeliness can be done by a system, which we are doing right now.
So I think we've got to a last question here. Can we have machine review and approval / QC of data?
We can have export of reports that flags up errors, but yeah, it won't do the quality of data. Only if it doesn't fit the box.
Yes? Yes.
Yeah,
Can we? Yes, we can. Yeah.
you can. Right. Okay.
Opinion.
Are we done with questions then? Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. That's it. Hope you've had a good couple of days and been productive. You're taking things away that are useful. So all I can say now is thank you for being here and have a safe journey back home. And you can have the rest of the day off.